Welcome back to the Healing Poetic Podcast. I'm Kia McLean, your hardcore healing pen coach, and this is the Rise series. Rise is my subscription-based series for those of us who are ready to go beyond talking about healing and begin talking about what it actually looks like to live through the work we've done. These conversations are deeper. We're talking about self-awareness, boundaries, relationships, grief, emotional maturity, self-trust, alignment, joy. And what happens when you start creating a life that actually feels like your own? If you want to be a Rise subscriber, please join. If you have questions about how to join, shoot me an inbox, leave me a audio message. I will get back with you. It's comfortable there. You can grab your journal right now if you'd like, and let's go there. Now, if you are hearing a preview of Rise and haven't subscribed yet, I want to personally invite you to join us over there, because Rise isn't about staying stuck in the story of what happened to us. We're talking about who we become after we've done some of the work. And today's conversation, look here, somebody needs this one. Maybe it's you. Hell, maybe it's me. Because today we're talking about dun dun dun. They don't have to understand. Releasing the need to explain yourself. Let me start here. When did we decide that another person's understanding was required before we could make a decision about our own lives? Okay, think about that. How many times have you known what you wanted, but then started preparing your explanation? I can't come because. I decided not to because. I know originally I said yes, but I hope you don't think. I don't want you to feel. I just want you to understand. And before you know it, you've written an entire dissertation explaining a decision that really only required, that doesn't work for me. Listen, I understand, because I have been an explainer. And when you've spent years being responsible, dependable, available, helpful, accommodating, or being the person everybody expects to show up, changing can feel like you're violating some invisible ass agreement. And the people around you may feel that way too. Because sometimes people aren't responding to your boundary. They're responding to the fact that they had access to a version of you who didn't have one. Let me say that again. Sometimes people aren't upset because your boundary is unreasonable. They're upset because your boundary changed their access to you. That's different. And one of the things healing required me to understand was this. Other people's disappointment does not automatically mean I've done something wrong. That was big for me. Oh, that was big. Because there's a difference between accountability and guilt. If I hurt somebody, I want to know. If I've behaved poorly, I want to examine that. If I owe someone an apology, I want to be emotionally mature enough to give one. Healing hasn't made me exempt from accountability. If anything, it has made accountability more important. But accountability and self-abandonment are not the same thing. And I don't have to abandon myself just because someone doesn't like a decision I've made. That's where discernment comes in. I can ask, was I cruel? Was I dishonest? Was I intentionally harmful? Did I violate an agreement? Did I behave in a way that doesn't align with my values? If the answer is yes, then I need to address that. But if the answer is no, and someone is simply disappointed because I said no, they are allowed to be disappointed. That's their emotion. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because if you have spent your life trying to make sure everybody is okay with you, letting somebody be disappointed with you can feel almost unbearable. You'll want to fix it. You'll want to call. You'll want to send a paragraph, then another paragraph, then a voice note explaining the paragraphs. And sometimes all that explaining isn't actually communication. Sometimes it's an attempt to control how someone perceives us. Woo! Hey, I had to sit with that one too. Because sometimes we say, I just want them to understand. But underneath that is, I need them to agree that I'm still a good person. I need them to know I wasn't trying to hurt them. I need them to validate my decision. I need them to see me the way I see myself. And here's the freedom I've been learning. They don't have to. Someone can misunderstand me, and I can still be at peace. Someone can disagree with me, and I can still love them. Someone can tell a version of a story where I'm the villain and I don't have to launch a public relations campaign. Now listen, that doesn't mean we never clarify misunderstandings. Communication does matter. Relationships deserve conversation. People we love deserve consideration. But there is a difference between communicating with someone and repeatedly trying to convince someone to accept your truth. At some point, I have to know when I've communicated enough. I have to know when another person's inability or unwillingness to understand me is no longer something I can solve. And that can be hard, especially when it's family, especially when it's somebody you've loved for years, especially when you've historically played a particular role in their life. Because when you change, everybody doesn't immediately update their expectations of you. They may still expect the old Kia, the old you, the one who would have said yes, the one who would have come anyway, the one who would have swallowed the discomfort, the one who would have stayed longer or explained herself until everybody felt better. But she's changed. And here's something else I've learned. People don't have to approve. They don't have to approve of your evolution for it to be real. You don't need a committee vote. You don't need unanimous approval. You don't need everybody who knew the old version of you to agree that you're allowed to become somebody different. And sometimes the people who love you will need time to adjust. That's okay. Because healthy boundaries aren't punishment. It's information. They're saying, this is what I have capacity for. This is what I don't. This is how I want to be treated. This is what I'm available for. This is what I'm no longer willing to participate in. And sometimes I love you, but I can't do this with you anymore. That can be painful and loving at the same time. One of the biggest misconceptions about healing is that eventually everything becomes easy. No. Sometimes healing makes things clearer, and clarity can create difficult decisions. You might see something about a friendship you didn't want to see. And this happens to me over the years. This has happened to me over the years as I've evolved. I see things in people that I don't want to see. That hurts me. You might recognize a family dynamic you've participated in for decades. Also me. You might realize you're over-functioning in your relationship. That was me. You might recognize that you've been saying yes because you're afraid of what happens when you say no. That's been me. You might realize you're exhausted because you've built a life around everybody else's expectation. That also me. And then comes the question. Now that I know this, what am I going to do about it? That's why our last Rise conversation was about stopping the negotiation with what you already know, because these conversations connect. First, I have to trust what I know. I have to trust that first. Then I have to be willing to live according to what I know. And eventually, I have to become comfortable with the fact that everybody isn't going to understand the life that comes from that knowing. Because that's maturity, that's self-trust, and sometimes that's even freedom. I also want to make an important distinction here. Releasing the need to explain yourself does not mean becoming emotionally unavailable. It doesn't mean I don't owe anybody anything. It doesn't mean treating people carelessly. It doesn't even mean using boundaries as an excuse to avoid difficult conversations. And it definitely doesn't mean refusing accountability. Sometimes you absolutely owe somebody a conversation. Sometimes you owe an explanation. Sometimes you made a commitment. Sometimes your choices directly affect another person. Healthy self-trust isn't selfishness. It's not about becoming so focused on yourself that everybody else's needs become irrelevant. Don't become selfish. It's about learning the difference between consideration and permission. I can consider you without needing your permission, and that's the difference. I can care about your feelings without making your feelings responsible for my decision. I can hear that you're disappointed without immediately changing my boundary. I can love you and still choose differently than you would choose for me. And that is a level of emotional freedom I didn't always have because I didn't give myself permission. Because there were seasons of my life when being misunderstood would consume me. I wanted to fix it, correct it, explain it, make sure everybody knew my intentions. And today, I'm learning to ask myself, Kia, have you communicated honestly? Have you behaved according to your values? Have you given the relationship the consideration it deserves? If I can answer yes, sometimes I have to let the rest go because peace isn't always created when everybody understands you. Sometimes peace comes when you understand yourself. Grab your journal because this is where I want us to do some work. Your first Rise journaling prompt is, where am I over-explaining myself because I am afraid of being misunderstood? Don't rush this prompt. Think about your relationships. Think about your family dynamics, your career, your friendships, your boundaries, maybe even your social media. Where are you spending emotional energy trying to convince people that your choices are valid? And here's the second prompt. Whose approval am I still unconsciously seeking? And what do I believe will happen if I don't receive it? That's the deeper question, because sometimes the person whose approval we're seeking isn't even someone we particularly agree with. But somewhere along the way, their approval became connected to our sense of being good enough. And finally, what would I do differently if I trusted myself, even when someone I love disagreed with me? Sit with that one, because your answer might reveal something. Maybe you would finally say no. Maybe you would say yes. Maybe you would start something, end something, rest, travel, create, change careers, love differently, dress differently, speak differently, live differently. Maybe you'd simply stop explaining. Whatever comes up, write it down. Don't judge it. Your journal is not a courtroom. You don't have to present any evidence. Just tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. I am sharing the last episode, and this episode is how I go and dig deeper with my subscribers. And I wanted to offer that to you all that listen to me, that have been faithful listeners, that have been faithful supporters. And we go much deeper on the subscriber side. And it's private for a reason, because I trust you and you trust me enough for us to have a sacred space where your information and my information is sacred. It's safe. It's honored. So I want you to go out to my website, keyscoaching.com, KEYAS coaching.com, where you could support me and purchase books. You can sign up for my coaching courses. You can also reach out to me that way if you want to shoot me an email or a message. You can also shoot me an audio message here on the podcast platform, letting me know what you think about the podcast and even some topics that you would love for me to talk about. If you want to follow me on social media, you can go out to Instagram. I am the Hardcore Healing Pen Coach. Hardcore Healing Pen Coach. All one word, no hyphens, no dots, all one word. And lastly, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kia McLean, the Poet. Now, before we close, final thing, I want to leave you with this. You can be a loving person and disappoint people. You can be compassionate and have boundaries. You can be generous and still say no. You get to change your mind. You get to outgrow something or someone. You can choose yourself without making somebody else wrong. And you can allow someone to misunderstand you without abandoning yourself, trying to correct their perception. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you've stopped requiring consensus before you live your life. And that is part of rising. If this conversation spoke to you and you're listening to a preview of the Rise series, I want just to invite you. Come subscribe and join us. Rise is where we take these conversations deeper. Not just what happened to me, but who am I becoming now? We're talking about healing, self-trust, boundaries, relationships, grief, joy, accountability, emotional maturity, and the beautiful, complicated, sometimes uncomfortable process of actually living through the work we've done. And to my Rise subscribers, thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me with these conversations. Thank you for bringing your journals, your stories, your questions, and your willingness to look within. And before you leave today, remember this. You don't need everyone to understand you, but you do need to understand yourself. You don't need everyone to approve of your boundaries, but you need to know why they're necessary. You don't need everyone to agree with your evolution, but you owe yourself the opportunity to experience it. So, journal honestly. Love yourself deeply. Give people permission to have their feelings. Give yourself permission to have your boundaries. And stop writing dissertations for decisions that only require a sentence. And that sentence could be N-O, period. Until next time, keep healing, keep trusting yourself, and keep rising. Until next time, peace.